The Hall of Fame voting took place, and they announced it yesterday. And more than any other sport, when the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame announcement gets made, there's a visceral reaction to it, as if it changes your life. Now, the guys that got in are interesting. The guys that didn't get in are interesting, as it is every year. It is clear now, though, that guys that did steroids are going to get into the Hall of Fame. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's absolutely going to happen. Jeff Bagwell was always under suspicion.
Right, that's what I was going to say. I mean,
he admitted to doing the andro.
Okay,
that's his admission, not mine.
I was going to say, I watched this happen last night, and I was like, man, wasn't Bagwell? Didn't he get caught
andro,
or do something? Right,
he admitted it. I don't know if it was during Congress or whatever it was.
Right,
but he came out. When andro was legal. When McGuire was doing it, whatever.
Yep.
He did andro. Now you can make the point. That's all you need to know. Right?
Exactly. I mean, that's all I need to know. I know that. Tim
Raines hasn't played in 20 years, and all of a sudden he gets in. And Pudge Rodriguez gets in by 1%. And, there was rumors.
There was questions about him, too.
Now, he was in studio with me and Boomer about a month ago, and I asked him directly about, the steroids and all that stuff. Listen, Pudge Rodriguez to me was always a Hall of Famer. I looked at his career, you look at what he did, how you're watching him as one of the great catchers of our generation.
Yep.
And I go, that guy's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Watching Tim Raines, or Rock Raines, as he was called for a couple of years. Montreal, obviously, he won a World Series with the Yanks. I don't understand what a guy does 20 years after he plays to suddenly become a Hall of Famer. Like, what did he do in the last 6 years? He didn't play baseball.
No, I'm with you. I don't really understand what it takes 20 years. I see it a lot in the NFL with the Hall of Fame there too. Tim Raines, I know I didn't grow up I grew up in the era of Tim Raines, not watching him a lot, but didn't know a lot about him until he really got to the Yankees. But he's a guy I look at, and you look at his career numbers. I mean, I think he's a Hall of Famer, though.
I'm not saying he's not, and now he is, so good for him.
But you're just saying, what the hell happened in 20 years?
Why did Tim Raines get in last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 8 years ago? And then, of course, the reaction to Bagwell is, he's a compiler. Bottom line is this. They're in the Hall of Fame. They're not coming out of the Hall of Fame, so congratulations to them. But it does open the door now, I think, for guys that we know did steroids.
Yes.
Because Bagwell admitted it. That was andro.
Yep.
That was those like GNC powders or pills, whatever the hell it was, right? And the fact that a Bonds and a Clemens now get 50% plus of the vote, and I guess you need 74, 75%, whatever it is, 75%. They're gonna get in. Vlad Guerrero misses, Trevor Hoffman misses by 5 votes. They're all gonna get in, and at some point, all of those of you out there that have this comical, ridiculous,
like me,
I'm a purist bullcrap.
That's me.
Hey, if they put it in their body, they don't get in. That nonsense. Are going to have to come to terms with the fact that there are guys in the Hall of Fame that at some point in their careers did drugs to perform.
Yeah. I mean,
and that's it. That's where it's going. And that's where it should go, frankly.
Well, why? That's what I would say to you as a friend of you, and we were just going to talk about this subject together. Yes. Why do you think they had to change of heart all of a sudden, too, to say, I'm going to start throwing votes this way?
That part I can't figure out because it's the same people voting
exactly.
every year.
I just don't.
I'm with you. That part, there's a lot of bluster amongst writers of, we're never putting them guys in, right?
Yes.
All of a sudden, they're getting pretty close to getting in. I view it this way. Baseball, we talk about the purity of baseball more than any other sport.
Yes.
Your dad loved baseball. Your grandfather loved baseball.
The great American past.
We all grew up on baseball. Right. Football's now become, overtaking that, right?
Yes, yes.
The notion of the purity of baseball is the biggest farce in the history of sports. Here's why. There are guys in the Hall of Fame that we never saw play, obviously. The Babe Ruths, the Lou Gehrig's, go all the way back, right?
Yep.
That never once played against a minority ball player.
Right.
Never. And that wasn't their fault that they didn't, but because of the segregation, right? So then there was an era which, as a child reading about this in social studies and history books, when you read about Washington, like we all know that George Washington had wooden teeth and did something stupid to a cherry tree, right?
Yes.
I don't know why we know it, because they teach it. And it might be the biggest farce in the world, but they teach it, right?
Yes.
So they also teach us about the quote-unquote dead ball era, the live ball era, and there's all these different eras in baseball, right?
Yeah.
More than any other sport on the planet. So why not just acknowledge that there is a steroid era? It existed. A lot of players were doing it. We don't know how many. We don't know pitchers, whatever it was, but we know they did it. But for a guy like Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens, who clearly were rock stars and the best at what they did prior to having their heads double in size and their biceps quadruple in size.
Yes.
Prior to clearly being on some kind of juice, they were great players who are Hall of Famers undisputably, right?
Yes.
So then those guys should be in the Hall of Fame.
But I don't think I think they're only in the Hall of Fame for me if there's like I want the section to say steroid era when they walk.
Agree.
It has to say that. Right. Because all those other eras, yes, flawed, like the things you said. I mean, not having to play night games, not having any African American players in the league, all those things, sure, but the players of those times couldn't help it. These guys went and broke the rules. And they broke
for a lot of times it wasn't illegal when they did it.
No, but
they might have broken
they might have broke the law, really.
Right.
Okay, so that's the first thing I would start. So that to me is where that differs in that conversation. But okay, if we're gonna let them in, I want it to be known that they were, the stars, like you said, Barry Bonds. Here he is, the star of the steroid era. It should say that on his plaque below. Right. So young kids and everybody else knows the truth. I
got no problem with that, but they belong in. So if you have, it's funny, with baseball more than any other sport, the reaction to Hall of Fame is, I always love the reactions. I can't believe that guy didn't get.
I saw the thing, I saw on one like Yahoo News or something last night about, and I'm looking at it now, and it reminded me, like Jose Canseco. He makes a good point. Bagwell got in, but McGuire's not in. So
Jose is one of those guys that outed Bagwell as a steroid user.
Yes.
Now, he admitted Andrew, but, everything Jose has said has been accurate.